I'm co-founder and CEO at SuperApp. We are building the first iOS native full stack engineer. You can build any iOS app already designed and built without developer or designer.
Why we need more designers? Do you actually agree that the high time for designers to go and build?
Designers are not going to have a choice. I definitely feel more product designers should be founders. And most startups fail because you don't build something people want. You don't build a real solution for a real problem. Fake products for a fake problem. A good product designer job is indeed to realize what is the actual pain point of the user.
For example, Windsurf, Lovable, they make a really good profit margin, 27% and 70%. Since you're building the super app, maybe you have an insight. Do those companies make money?
Speculations about that those vibe coding tools don't make any money. I think this is not true. From what I know about our products, it sounds about right. We try to operate in 40 to 50% margins. We buy new tokens from the money we get from users. It looks much more helpful to me actually in terms of business health. However, we're still in the AI bubble.
When was the moment when you realized that, okay, vibe coding is cool, but I think I reached the limit?
I definitely couldn't do it myself. And the actual products you're building lots of parts. And I think the key word here is the word multi-agent, LAM orchestration, basically efficient system. Foundational model. A lot of engineering makes the system efficient, context engineering. And that's also where it gets created for the end user.
Plan for the future, Bootstrap versus raising the VC.
Really don't enjoy talking to VCs or the whole process of fundraising, and nobody does. It's extremely distracting. Two things that are important is building a product and talking to users. Right now, growth without any, I think, external financing. And when the moment comes, I think we can fundraise. But then we're already making a bit of revenue. Vibe coding is cool, but then you cannot really jump to being a 10x engineer from zero in a year. I'm a co-founder and CEO at SuperApp. We are building the first iOS native full stack engineer, meaning you can build any iOS app already designed and built without developer or designer.
Cool. And your background, you are a designer or?
Ex-build. I spent the last 3 years before this doing product design and builds. I was designing the rider app and the driver app, and I was traveling to Estonia a lot. So I'm based in Berlin, but I think Tallinn is my second home in Europe because I spent maybe 10 to 15 times in Tallinn.
Oh yeah, nice. So I wanted to start with talking about the news, rather old news, but why not? So here's the first thing. The first thing is the pricing of Cursor, and there's Claude. Cursor is a code editing tool, like IDE. You can talk to AI and it would generate whatever you want. And similarly, Claude, very similar. You can talk to AI and it will generate you whatever app or tool or whatever you want. So many people were saying that those apps actually don't make money. So that was one point. And then I read this article by Mikhail Sheglov in Corporate Waters. By the way, subscribe if you're not following it. He had this article where he said that actually, for example, Windsurf, a competitor to Cursor, for example, Lovable, they make a really good profit margin, 27% and even 70%. Those are estimates or guesstimates. But then there was a Base 44. I think he mentioned that they make really good profit. And I was very surprised and confused. So do those companies, do they actually make money or not really? Since you're building the super app, maybe you have an insight or an idea about it?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think this kind of speculations about that those vibe coding tools don't make any money. I think this is not true. But it's also important to realize basically that the whole economics of AI is right now in a bubble, right? It's VC funded mostly. And the tokens Anthropic and OpenAI sells to those developers, to us as well, is also basically cheap compared to what they could cost, actually. And you could say the whole industry is subsidized right now. And this is layer one, right? And on layer two, we have these companies like ours, Lovable, Windsurf, Cursor, etc. Basically are sophisticated, quite complex, but still AI wrappers deliver additional value on top of it. And I think speculations basically about those margins not being great is not true. It's simply not true. It could be correct, I think, actually, in 6 months from now, let's say like AI bubble burst and Anthropic and ChatGPT OpenAI has to be more strict on the like financial models and be more profitable. In that case, I think margins will get much thinner. But I still think the value we have right now created in this like in-between layer is, first of all, like big enough. Like it's a huge value unlock for users. And second of all, like while I saw this article, like numbers in the article, like from 27 margin to basically 69, I think it's from what I know, like about, for example, our products, it sounds about right. I think it depends on how much they want to squeeze users and how much they can afford to subsidize. That's basically a question. If you're VC funded, for example, we are not VC funded, like we're bootstrapping, but still, like we try to operate in basically 40 to 50% margins because we buy new tokens from the money we get from users, and so we try to be basically slightly above break even right now. But also, we cannot afford freemium. Basically, if you think about Lovable, only 10% or so of people who use Lovable pay, right? So it's a VC funded freemium model, and you need to account for those freemium credits in a margin. And I'm not sure if this article accounts for actual freemiums, like this 90% of users who try the product once, who basically get free tokens into the end margin itself, because it changes the picture completely. So I would say basically, my gut feeling from what I know is if you take the margin itself, it sounds about right. But if you account for the freemium model, VC funding that goes into the growth, into acquiring users, I think then the margin maybe becomes break even or something like that. So like it's a speculation again, but that's what I would say. Yeah.
You said that this 30 to 70% profit margin, it kind of makes sense. Why it didn't make sense for me initially is because I tried to test some of the models, and I noticed that even simple like translation of text, or I don't know, voice to text, then text to something else, if I calculated everything correctly, then it's super easy to reach like $10 a month, I don't know, $20 a month on if I use something relatively daily or maybe weekly. And based on these napkin calculations, I was like, okay, so then most likely all this lovable $20 subscriptions or 25, they probably lose a lot of money on it, but maybe my napkin calculation is actually wrong. Do you have any like logic how to estimate those, like how much they actually spend?
So I think it's important to take a step back here and like understand like what's actually happening in the process, like between you and Lovable, SuperApp, Cursor, and Claude. And the actual products you're building has lots of parts, like this like LLM orchestration basically. But the hard part is to build a really efficient system. So in theory, like you can make endless calls to Claude or GPT API, waste a lot of money and it's making results. That's absolutely possible. It's, the foundational model company is just going to benefit from it. So there's like no incentive to stop you from doing this. A lot of engineering, what those companies do, and our company as well, it's quite hard actually to make the system efficient and to make sure you get maximum of value with minimum of token without losing much of the context. So a little bit is just like context engineering. And I think the key word here is like the word multi-agents. You need to build a very sophisticated multi-agent system. And another word is orchestration. You need to build a very correct orchestration that has enough of efficiency built into it. At the same time, you get enough value out of it. And that is a lot of pretty hard stuff, pretty hard engineering. And that's also where value gets created for the end user, for the end consumer. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, actually.
I will just share real quick this one. But building products like Lovable and SuperApp could be built in a weekend. Many think so, but reality is different. There's a bunch of prompt engineering, orchestration, background embeddings, etc., etc. And I was like, okay, it's interesting. However, now you mentioned this context engineering. Like, as I imagine to myself, that basically there's probably one LLM that plans for stuff, and probably it's rather cheaper one. And then there are other LLMs that actually execute things, and those are actually expensive ones. And the point is to trigger those expensive models as few times as possible, or at least as efficiently as possible, and the cheaper ones as much. And do this, for example, when I use Cursor, I tend to use auto mode because I don't have that much money. But then there are those pick But then you can also pick the Opus Claude model, GPT model, etc., etc. So does it mean that there's no like first use the cheaper model and then use the smarter model? It actually uses the cool models for literally everything, or?
So again, like I made guesses of how the multi-agent works, like educated guesses, but still guesses, right? So just to account, like I'm not on the Cursor team, but I'm using many products and knowing how our system is built, I can give you some ideas. Basically, yeah, indeed, like when you select auto agent mode, what happens is there's a multi-agent orchestrator that's using a cheaper model for planning and maybe more expensive models for maybe database work, because, doing database work may be hard. Basically, your goal is to build a precision formula, depending on complexity of the task and precision of the task. And depending on the complexity of the context, use different models and different agents. And it sounds simpler than it is in reality. It doesn't mean that if you select a Claude model instead of like multi-agent outer mode, it's always going to perform better. And the reason why is because single agents performs great when you give it like one task at a time. But for example, if you give it a task of create me UI and then create a database in Superbase and connect this Superbase into API with UI, which is usually how people from basically building as a whole feature, which usually takes a few steps. Then multi-agent systems tend to perform, in my experience, much better. And that's why, for example, we built also a multi-agent system after we have both single agent and multi-agent systems, is because when you have a complex feature request and you need to build multiple parts and then connect them, you need to make sure each one of those parts is built correctly. And the only way to verify it is to split those parts. So not to think of it as one single context, split into, like, you have a boss basically, and the boss knows how the whole company operates, and he doesn't need to tell an engineering manager about marketing of the company, marketing departments, and he doesn't need to tell a salesperson about what office manager does. And the goal of this like boss meta planner agents is basically to manage context effectively and to make sure he sends a task with the right context to sub agents, and agents does the job well, and the next agents basically takes the lead afterwards. And again, it sounds much simpler than it is in reality. In reality, building this efficiently and making it work as well as a single agent approach is quite hard. It's not rocket science, but it is heavy engineering.
Okay.
If it makes any sense at all.
It makes sense to me, at least. And now, let's say tomorrow OpenAI or Anthropic, they release a new model. Adding a new fancy shiny model straight away doesn't actually make sense now based on what you're saying, because you're not sure if it's going to be working in your orchestration.
Yeah, actually, no. I think it's best to use latest. I think Anthropic is great. Like, it's an amazing company. And what happened, for example, when we built V1 of our system, we specifically built our system first for testing with the oldest, the worst Claude model. So make sure it works even with the worst model. And then we switched to the latest model for end users, because if our system works even on the worst model, which produces lots of bugs, lots of hallucinations, and we handle it well, then with the latest model, it's going to perform really well. So we tried this approach, and we can say for sure, the next model produces like less bugs, less hallucinations. It's not the same for all models, but I can say about Claude models, Claude models amazing. We rely on Claude edit tools a lot. We not heavily using Codex right now. I would say, in my case, ChatGPT is probably better for planning and Claude is better for execution. But however, my friends at different companies had also different experiences. Maybe it depends on the use case.
Yeah, I'm also like wondering how people manage to get to use many models from different companies together. Like in a small startup where I kind of help building some stuff, I remember there was a case I was testing something using GPT or whatever. And then we put it on prod, but for some reason the configs didn't use the GPT 4.0. It started using Anthropic model or whatever other model. And I noticed how results were they were so different compared to 4.0. So I started to think, okay, so probably you need to prompt actually the model. Like if you're prompting GPT 4.0, then this prompt doesn't work for other models one-to-one. So you probably need to tweak models. And now I was thinking, like, if now, for example, you guys, let's say you focus on Claude models, and then all of a sudden you need to switch to, I don't know, GPT, would it be a big change for you? Or it's like, nah, just...
Yes, it would. And it actually has not so much to do with the model itself, but with infrastructure and developer tooling built around it. So Anthropic is superior right now, I would say, in developer tooling. They have amazing tools for editing code and modifying code. And those tools, they use specific trained data sets, which make them more stable for editing files. And basically, okay, imagine you're using Lovable SuperApp and you're telling this, okay, change, I don't know, a color of a button to green. It needs to find a specific line in code and edit this. And only this diff. It's called diff, yeah. And surprisingly, if you try to build this kind of edit tool yourself, you're going to run into a lot of problems. And you're going to see that your system is hallucinating a lot. And Anthropic made a really great solution for this. I think they trained a specific data set for this kind of tasks. Anthropic developer, because I think initially they targeted developers like OpenAI, they were a bit late to the game. They are, in my view, maybe something changed recently, but as far as I know, in my view, they're superior right now in terms of developer tooling. Not even the foundation model itself, but like the developer tooling.
Okay, interesting. Are you using Claude via AWS? It's off topic of podcast, but
now we're using directly. But maybe
okay,
we should think.
Interesting. Okay, and one more question about this topic. So, if I get you correctly, or if I get this article correctly, then this Cursor, Windsor, Lovable, Replit, whatever other guys, the real problem that they shouldn't focus on is not the profit margins, because it sounds like they're actually quite profitable and they're kind of good. I mean, if we take only paying clients, paying users, then they're not losing maybe money, probably, potentially. At least the business model can be profitable, let's say. Because before I thought that this business model cannot be profitable under any circumstances. But now it's just the question of competition. Can you grow faster and reach more users faster than your competitor? But also, will the layer one foundational models, will they increase prices or not really?
My guess, probably inevitable, because we are enjoying the era of abundance in terms of like cheap tokens right now, relatively cheap tokens. And, like technology development cycles, it's actually a second AI cycle, right? There was the first one. And people who, I used to work in AI startup, which was like at the end of first cycle, AI cycle a few years ago. And it's not going to be easy, I think. I don't think a lot of AI startups are going to survive. But I believe that the coding use case, the vibe coding use case, is going to be one of the major ones that's going to survive and be profitable. And many of those companies will have to reconsider the unit economics and become more like a profitable business. But that's an inevitable part of any developments. And I think honestly, those companies like Cursor or Lovable, they are at this point too big to worry about this. I would say smaller startups have to worry about it, especially those who are not VC funded, because this is mostly a VC game. It's mostly not a bootstrap startup game.
It kind of leads to the question of how do you plan your future? But we can raise it later. For now, there's another topic, another semi-news that I wanted to discuss is, okay. And the second news that I want to discuss is this. It caught my eye that Y Combinator released this, why everyone should care about design. Basically, the gist is why we need more designers. If I put it shortly, there's claim or thesis that now it's important not how to build the app or tool or whatever. It's important to know what you want to build. And the claim is that designers, they have the best idea what to build, in the sense that they can imagine, they can actually design something. Like, for example, you can design something in Figma, and then you can clearly explain to AI, I need a sidebar, I need navbar, I need this, and that. But the person without this experience, they wouldn't know exactly how best to design the app so that it's actually useful. Talking from personal experience, that's true. It's quite annoying that I can build stuff, but then when I see what I build, I'm like, oh boy, I cannot show it. And then I checked out your LinkedIn again, and I see that here you have exactly 1 year ago, I couldn't find the technical co-founder for my pet project, so I decided to turn myself into just product designer, from just product designer into a CTO or an engineer. So I see a fancy GitHub with a bunch of contributions, and so it seems like you vibe code or build some things. And as a proof of it, I see that you had already a bunch of projects under your belt, the Destiny and Andy. So if people want to learn more about those projects, check out the LinkedIn of Vitalik. And yeah, do you actually agree that for designers, it's somehow easier, better, the high time for designers to go and build?
I'll actually put it into another perspective. I think designers are not going to have a choice. As ex designer, I think those tech jobs are not gonna be there anymore. Before, you could have like a stable job somewhere as a designer. It was like some career progression. I don't know, like some Facebook product designer, layer 1, layer 2, L1 with career progression. It's not true anymore. Many people feel stuck. Many people feel this like lack of meaning in the jobs, like just like moving pixels and stuff, and nobody cares. I think most companies don't care about design with very few exceptions. And it kind of makes sense. Like company care about profit and metrics, and they don't exactly see how design, or some companies can understand how design translates into more profit, but most companies don't. And maybe that's natural. Maybe that's okay. But I personally felt that I don't feel like a product designer anymore, and I definitely feel more product designers should be founders. And the reason why is what YC is saying is absolutely true. Most startups fail because you don't build something people want. You don't build a real solution for a real problem. You build a fake product for a fake problem. And the rest is just like, you might make a real product for real pain, but like you're not able to distribute it. But most startups just don't make what people want. And a good product designer job is indeed to realize what is the actual pain point of the user. And that's why what he's saying is true. But I think why it's not happening is because designers haven't been really empowered. Even what I've seen in organizations, in small startups, design is secondary, if not even worse, right? So nobody cares much about design. You don't feel like they can build stuff. And I think it's a lot about just like self-confidence. We need more examples. We need more role models of designers who actually build stuff. Maybe like, Brian Cheskin, stuff like this. So that's definitely like one thing for me. And I personally feel a lot of advantage becoming like technical person while being a designer, because honestly, I don't open Figma anymore. So if I have to design something, I design it in production, basically. Not in production, but like, on localhost, I just go to Cursor, go to SuperApp, and I just design it immediately, because those tools already give you a pretty good idea. If you have existing design system, it's going to just like copy it pretty well. And I don't remember the last time I opened Figma, to be honest.
Well, interesting. But did you know HTML, CSS, those JavaScript, React before?
So the thing is, like, I was coding a lot when I was a teenager. Then I got into my first tech jobs, and I realized programming was so boring for me. It's like I couldn't get, like, maybe I'm a bit creative, a bit ADHD, and I just like wanted to build and see result of what I built. I didn't want to go through all these bugs. I'm a very impatient person. And that's why, like, when 10 years later Wipe Coding happens, I was just like, I became so obsessed with it, because you can get the results of your idea, of your prototype immediately, keeping all this, bureaucracy of bug fixing and setting up things and deploying things. And that's why I felt like I was waiting for this time of AI, my whole life. When I started building, I just couldn't stop, to be honest. I was starting, like, when I had my day job, I was just like, I spent my whole free time building. I stopped going to parties. I stopped hanging out. I was like building, because it's just like such an enjoyable thing. And yes, it's painful. Like when I started, it's painful. But once you're used to building, it becomes just an addiction. You cannot escape it. Once you're a builder, you cannot go back.
Do you think, like, one of the things that you mentioned is that you understand users' problem the best? Hashtag we are on the TPG, Talent Product Group. Technically, there are many product managers who would be like, yo, but we are product managers. We understand the user's problem the best, so we are positioned best for this. As far as I remember, the claim was that designers, they understand the pain. However, they can also actually present the solution, like turn it into a solution. They're not only in the problem space, they're also in the solution space, and they can actually design and actually show what the solution will be. Do you think it's something that, like, I'm thinking now, I myself, I'm not super technical, but I have these two paths to learn engineering a bit better. or to actually go and take some course on design. Do you think it's so radical that now we need to actually switch from engineering courses to design courses?
I think you need neither of those. Neither, because AI tools will be able to do both for you. The only exception is like 10x engineering, which is like, for example, building a system like ours. Like why I met my co-founder is like I realized with all my experience in vibe coding, like I couldn't build it myself. And I was very honest with myself. Okay, I really want to build this, but I immediately understood like the complexity of it, and I realized, okay, it's above my level. I cannot build this. But there are only a few, maybe like 5% of products that you need this kind of engineering for in software. And 90% of it, like SaaS apps, those things are going to be designed and programmed for you. So I would not invest into those skills unless you want to be a 10x engineer. Same with designers. And then it comes to question like what skills are needed, but it's like, $100 billion question. What's going to be in this new world?
Yeah. I, again, on the latest meetup in Tallinn, by the way, if you're in Tallinn, go to meetups of, I think we have Cursor, we have Bytecode Atelier, we have many other events, so go and visit them. And especially the product meetups. Yes, don't forget about them. There was a guy, he's from Italy, and he showed me the app that he built, and it was a very simple app for scheduling paddle games. They have a paddle court somewhere in Italy, and people just want to schedule. I'll be at this time. I'll take this court, and I'll play with my friends.
I've heard some.
Okay, so wow, famous guy apparently, and yeah, so he built this app, and honestly, it's not that difficult app. At least it doesn't seem so. Maybe there's a bit of complexity in it. So, but what I liked about it is that probably no one would ever build this app for this use case, for this specific place in Italy. I don't remember where it was, but now there is this dude. I built it. I don't know if they paid him or no, but anyway, the fact that now this place is enabled with this, it sounds amazing. Definitely no secret engineering is needed for it, but probably a lot of cool engineering is needed to build your app, SuperApp. And that's it. Yeah, I was wondering, when was the moment when you realized that, okay, vibe coding is cool, but I think I reached the limit?
One thing was psychological. Like I built like a few products in 1 year. Some of them sucked completely. Some of them got traction, but like couldn't make money. It was like, it was all like on the level of side quests, basically for me, like indie hacking, I would say. And at some point I realized like I'd rather go on one thing with all my heart in it, like lock in on some one thing and take it seriously and like do it seriously, because I don't really like this context switching. Like I would rather like do one great complicated high value products like many small ones. And I had this experience of basically vibe coding an app for fun. Like I don't believe in astrology, but just like we were drinking beer with a friends of mine, and I was doing another project at the time, and I was joking like, if it's gonna fail, worst case, I'm just gonna vibe code an astrology app, because like this is this money printing machine or something. And I don't believe in astrology, but again, that's what a classic Gemini would say. Yeah, I'm Gemini. So like, and we made basically a beer bet that I will vibe code it in 2 days. And I kind of won this bet. So like I vibe coded this astrology app in 2 days using like latest tech stack. And I was like, okay, this is so simple, except for Apple bureaucracy when distributing this app. The whole process was just like even I would say much more straightforward than web development, because web development requires lots of dependencies. And I was surprised how well executed is like Apple design ecosystem, like with Swift UI. And I was just like, this is so great. Why is there like no product like basically lovable for doing this? And then I started digging in and realized how many like limitations basically have with just having to deal with like Apple dependencies, because it has to be a macOS app. It has to use Apple software. You still need to have Xcode in the machine. And there were like so many limitations. And I just started like looking into how LLM orchestration would work with all the systems. And I was digging in and realized, okay, I cannot build this. And I forgot about it. I tried to forget about it because I realized, okay, it's above my level. But the idea kept coming to me. And I had this kind of like an anxiety, why nobody built this? Why am I not building this? And I randomly met my co-founder at Ukrainian tech events. And almost like immediately, like the next week, I offered him this idea, and he said like, cool, let's build it. And the next week he came to me in a coffee shop, and he like kind of showed me the whole architecture plan, like all the trade-offs, like this like whole tech, like he looked into every technicality, and I was like, okay, I definitely couldn't do it myself. And then I realized, okay, like vibe coding is cool, but then you cannot really jump to being a 10x engineer from zero in a year.
I think I really love this post of yours. This here, you talk about how you are not Gen Z, but no, it's more about the unit economics. And I'm a big fan of unit economics and like, can this idea actually survive? That's why we talked about the first news. Your first idea, or one of first ideas, was a language learning app. You realize that unit economics are kind of difficult. I like this part. To hit 1 million ARR, you need 5,000 users paying $20 per month. But with 2% retention rate, you would have to initially bring 250,000 users. So from 5,000 to 250,000 to secure just these 5,000 monthly subscribers, which means that 5,000 by 120, you have to spend $600,000 to get this 5,000 loyal users. For small indie hackers, it's a dead end. Did this experience actually help you anyhow, like to think about your future ideas? Or
yeah, it's helped me a lot. So basically what happens is like if you build, that goes like back to this like, Peter Thiel kind of stuff, philosophy, where if you think like everybody else and you build what everybody else is building, like, if you open a Mexican restaurant in Tallinn and whole street is full with Mexican restaurants, you're going to have a hard time competing, right, for attention of your customers. In the same way it goes with any digital products. If you're building a language learning app in extremely saturated market, in a need where people like self-development is actually very hard to sell, right? And like where retention rates are brutal, like 2%. It's the worst idea ever. And the reason why it happened is because like I pivoted from AI voice products and I wanted to try a use case that actually works. But reality is if your product is not unique, if it doesn't do anything new and doesn't provide unique value, meaning people are not gonna share organically about it, you have a huge problem. So the first thing I learned is like basically after building everything, because the first 3 or 4 products I built were original in some way of execution, but they were not solving unique pain in a new way completely. So they're like basically creating some new commodity among other existing commodities. And if you can, you should escape this competition by creating something only you uniquely can create, and you can look into your experiences. But this whole process of building stuff led me to my current idea, because unlike previous ideas, I found this by accident, and it was my own need, my own demands. And that's why it was much more organic and unique, and I could have built a much better product, and I could believe in my product much more than other products. Many people don't talk about it, but like when you believe in the product you're making, it's much easier to sell it. People and users can feel it in your execution, in your design, in your quality of your products. And what happened is like, unlike other products, the one we built right now, people share organically about it. It's not massive because we were basically in closed beta for a month. It was very raw beta testing. But for example, we started like with, 100 people just in a beta, just people I got from inbound, from LinkedIn, built in public. And then people had a great experience. They post to bring other people. And so like our waitlist grew like to 100 people, in 2 weeks or so. And I think this only happens when basically that's what YC is saying, like the sign of product market fit of products. The only reliable sign is like if people are organically sharing your product with other people. If this happens, that's the best sign you're making something people really want. And I really felt it comparing to other smaller indie hacking projects I made. This is really true. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why, but I like this guy. It's like, look at the weather app that I built in like, I don't remember, like real quick. Yeah. When you were thinking to start this the super app, did you think about how unit economics would actually work for you, or not really?
One word, YOLO.
Okay. So lesson is not learned. Okay, we didn't learn the lesson. Start over.
To take your question seriously, yes, I did. Like I did napkin math on what it would look like. And I looked into unit economics of like what other products are working. And it seemed like it's going to work out. And in practice, like when we started onboarding users and they started paying, we see it's working out. So we could be a bootstrap business. The only problem, like as a bootstrap business, we cannot compete with the VC funded web coding startups because they are like basically in lovable case, let's say 90% of people are not paying. So it's like a freemium model, but they still use the product. It's growing, allows them to fundraise more money and subsidizes tokens. So in our case, for example, we're more conservative. We give out tokens, but not as much because we're paying out of our own pocket, basically. So that's why I was telling in the beginning, web coding startups right now, it's more of a VC game. I would say there are exceptions, like for example, Base 60, I forgot.
Base 44.
Yeah, Base 44 by Israeli founder. It's a great exception, but I'm sure like there are lots of details, and those kind of startups are very hard to pull off solo and very hard to pull off without a budget you can use to support a freemium model. But if you take just the margins on paying users themselves, I think it's a very healthy business, extremely. Much better, for example, than I think many other businesses that operate on very thin margins.
Interesting to hear that, like especially the part that this is a very healthy business. I never thought about lovable Cursor from perspective of this is a healthy business model.
I know some other businesses that like operate on very thin margins. Like what is a margin for restaurants?
Yeah, it depends. I talked to some. I have some friends who have restaurants, and they say that margin on one meal is amazing, like almost 50%. I don't know, 40%, 50, 60, whatever. Then you need to couple in. Okay, that's after cost of food, but okay, other costs. They didn't talk about other costs.
So like there are like not so many actual great businesses like in reality, and most organizations operate like actually on like thin margins. And compared to like vibe coding, where you sell artificial intelligence tokens wrapped in another value add-on in the middle, another wrapper, it looks much more healthy to me actually in terms of like business health. However, we're still like in the AI bubble, so like I don't know what's going to look like, in 6 months from now.
Interesting. Anyone who's listening or watching to this podcast, write in comments. Do you think there is AI bubble or no? Cool. Now to lead more to more like sales and maybe future plans and marketing and this type of thing? How do you plan to actually grow SuperApp? That's an open question. Let's start like this.
That's a question I'm thinking from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed every day right now, to be honest. We just basically opened our closed beta, and the product is like in a pretty good shape for such early stage. And we're gonna do product hunts next Wednesday. Please upvote, please link in the comments and support us. And we're gonna do a few things. I think we are interested like in collaboration with people who are just excited about like vibe coding journal, YouTubers, influencers. We see that like people share a product organically. So we're going to do lots of things that don't scale. Like we're doing a hackathon today, for example, where people are using our products with free credits. We're using lots of things that don't scale. We're basically going to try like every growth thing in this book because like scaling, like the thing is like even if you have an amazing product, getting to the first escape velocity, like let's say 10,000 users, it's a very hard job. Especially it's hard like when you jungle technical work and marketing. For example, like my goal like in this next couple of months is stop coding and focus entirely like on marketing business. We're also doing like a workshop next Friday with like a company of 200 people because they wanted to basically, it's a bit slow moving. People, do features for months and they want the company to embrace AI. They want the tech teams, product teams, non-technical teams to move faster, to be more creative. And they want basically me to come in and teach them how to use the tool to make assumptions, to test different A/B tests quickly without even getting developers on board. And that's what we're going to do, like, for example, next Friday. And it's like a team of like 150 people using the app. We're going to do things like this. My goal is to scale to maybe 10K users in the next couple of months.
What is your bet? Like actual direct sales, which is more like B2B path, and then there is B2C.
Yeah, I think the problem is like we are all of it. Like we are both B2C and B2B and B2B to B2C. And like, for example, agencies using our product to sell apps and add another margin on top of it. That's what's happening, for example, with Lovable. Like agencies pay for it because they can save money on hiring people and can put a bigger margin on the end apps they sell to their customers. And that's like part of the business model, it's a whole new market. I'm not sure that's the way we're going to go, but there were like many different ways in which people can use the product like this. And we need to be both B2C and B2B in terms of marketing, which means we're both going to do TikTok and SEO. And not only, but what's much more important than SEO in classical way is being found in ChatGPT search, is being found in Perplexity search, being found in Claude. Sorry, but like even in DeepSeek. That's even important to be found in DeepSeek. And the only actual way to be discovered on those things is to make a great product people love over a long period of time. That's a core thing I still believe. Like it's very important to make a great product. It's not enough only to make a great product, but the core is to make a great product people share organically, and we already see this happening. So I'm very excited for what's going to happen.
I'll just show one more post from you. Your lesson from the past. Note for future self: first build TikTok, then build product.
Yeah.
My bet is you still don't have a TikTok.
I didn't do TikTok for this product yet. So lesson learned, not learned. And the reason why is because I started with my first startup I worked as founding product designer was like a B2B, classic B2B enterprise startup. And the way it works with B2B startups, you first onboard 5-10 clients. You make sure they have a common set of features they enjoy and has product market fit. And only then you onboard more clients and more clients. But first you need to make sure like those 110, whatever users love your product before going to the market in general. And that's kind of my school of life, like where I learned how to actually make sure I build something people want. And that's why I bring this approach to my startup. I first make sure a limited amount of people really love the product, not like it, but love it. You know, it works for them really well. And only then I'm trying to capture a wider audience. Another thing is that like we are targeting right now, there are like lots of actual vibe coding platforms for mobile apps, but not native. Use React Native. And for example, use like a bunch of apps, like an app to build an app, but this is not Swift, this is not native. And our niche is like more serious builders who want to build a real high quality, well-designed products aligned with Apple standards. And you need to download a macOS app. You might need to have some dependencies like Xcode in the background. It's quite a heavy setup just compared to average vibe coding online tool. And that's why we are focusing more on serious builders who actually want to build a business, who actually need a beautiful app. And that's why we're gonna do TikTok definitely, but it's a second thing for me, secondary. And first thing for me is places where real serious builders are.
I'm relatively out of questions. There are two questions. What is the plan for the future in the sense of Bootstrap versus raising the VC? You're saying that this is a game for VC. So far, it sounds like you're bootstrapping.
I really don't enjoy talking to VCs or like the whole process of fundraising, and nobody does. And the reason why is because it's extremely distracting. It's extremely distracting from two things that are important. It's like building a product and talking to users or like selling the product. And those are the only things you should do like as real estate startup. And right now, we can grow to a certain stage without any, I think, external financing. And when the moment comes, I think we can fundraise. But right now, like, for example, in the next month, it just doesn't feel right because like we don't need a lot of money for anything except maybe for like subsidizing tokens. But then we're already making a bit of revenue. So like we can subsidize it from the revenue we make. But I think eventually we'll have to decide how fast we want to grow and what game we want to play. But right now, we still haven't fully committed to anything.
Fancy. Last section, some demo of the product and maybe some cool features you plan to release or update.
Yeah. What app do you want?
Let's build a waitlist for our product that will be released by Done Product Group.
Let's do something fun. Maybe like a Padel planning app or something like this, because waitlist has to be easy. It's going to take a minute.
By the way, the big question, elephant in the room. Do you plan to support Android in the future?
We will at some point, but it's supported already like with experts, so you can experts if a project is going to work on Android as well. But since we want to be laser focused right now, we positioning ourselves as iOS engineer first. We're going to probably expand. There are like many use cases we can expand to, including Android. Potentially, we could go web, we can go mobile. But right now, since we took this approach of focus on native Swift and it's a macOS app, we will try to just improve this first and make it sure it works really, really well for most people. So as you see, like it's putting a separate app on your Mac, which is Apple Simulator. And the reason why is because this is like the requirements for Apple. Basically, we have to use Apple software and has to be embedded into the developer workflow. As you see, it made one UI mistake, which is like it made white text and white backgrounds. Now let's make it dark modes. Let's make homepage dark modes by default. It made quite a few design mistakes here because it's mixed dark mode, light modes. Usually doesn't happen. What happens on first generation generates like general structure and idea of homepage, because I believe for people who don't know design, it's best if we start with one thing, for example, a homepage, and then they can tell if they like design or not. So let's add, for example, chords feature. Add chords feature in chords tab.
I remember I tried connecting Cursor to a folder where I had the Xcode project and building an app. It didn't go well. I don't know, no, it didn't go well. Maybe skill issues. Again, I'm a rookie in vibe coding. So did you have any experience with Cursor? I mean, Cursor with Xcode.
That's exactly what it is. That's like, I realized the whole process of building Xcode project with Cursor. And you can think of it as like, as a child of Cursor and Xcode. And that's how it's a bit different from, other web coding platforms, because Xcode is real pain. And for me, it was the worst developer experience. Like building the app was easy, but dealing with Xcode, even professional developers don't like dealing with Xcode. I think it's one of the weak parts of Apple ecosystem. Like this pain was part of the reason like why I'm doing this.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting that the biggest pain of Apple's ecosystem is the development ID, basically the entry point. Interesting.
We can wait just a second until I finish. Let's see how it adds this feature. Yeah. And obviously performance is different depending on the prompting, even depending on, it can give different results, like different design, depending even on the same prompt, but like, different attempts. It's the nature of AI models, but overall, the quality of design is very high. Like I would say this is like much lower than like what it usually does, but still it's for most principles and it's good foundation to prompt it to great design. What I usually do, like I add reference here and I add a screenshot of another app I like and layout I want to copy. And then I prompt it to edit something. So it's basically improving on some foundation of another people's design, Or like I can export from Figma if I have some design in Figma, some PNG.
Fancy. Okay, cool. Wow. I'll say let's wait for it to build and then we'll continue. We're basically near the end. After this section, I actually don't have much else to add. Is there anything else you think we should discuss, or you want to ask phrases?
Yeah, you had added like a chords feature with nearby chords, the private chords. Nice. A chord view, so you can open the chords, amenities, select date. It didn't do it well. So yeah, and this way, like one by one, comment by comments, the same way with other web coding tools, you can finish out.
Wow, cool. Thank you. Very promising app. And at least like the first time I tested it, again, probably I wasn't super impressed, but I saw how I can use it and what I can use it for. Because I remember I tested first time Lovable. I was like, maybe I will not use it. And now Lovable is but I use it somewhere. Let's put it this way. Definitely paying those hefty $25 or $50. I don't remember how much. Anyway, that's not the point. Thank you for this episode. Anything where people can reach out to you, or do you want people to reach out to you?
Follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter. I post a lot about, like I used to post more about building public, but like I will get back to it. So, and yeah, I try to keep in touch with all my users right now to get feedback and improve the product. So I'd be happy to, give some free credits for testing.
Definitely follow Vitalik on LinkedIn. As you see, there are so many things you can pick up, at least for the podcast for sure. Thank you, Vitalik. It was great. Thank you very much and see you. Good luck.